Hi, good morning. I'm still here in our classroom. I've actually never left, same day, but different posting. So today's warm-up is going to be on solving systems. We still have two equations, but this time it's on the elimination method. And this is what your assignments all week have been on. So I wanted to do a warm-up where I kind of go through a couple problems. So if you're still struggling finishing those delta maths, you have examples that I go through also, in addition to always getting help from me live on Google Hangouts, Remind, Google Classroom, or even through email. Okay, how you know when to use elimination is, unlike the previous two warm-ups, both of our equations are in standard form, which means both the x and the y are on the same side. When you're doing elimination, your variables and equal signs should line up really nicely. So what I mean by that is the x's are on top of the x's, the y's are on top of the y's, the equal sign is on top of the equal sign, and then our numbers without the variables are on that right-hand side together. So when you eliminate, you are using both equations and adding straight down. And when you add straight down, what needs to happen is you need to have one of your variables cancel out. And the way we know things cancel out is they have to have the same number in front but opposite signs. So like 4 and -4, 5 and -5, 2 and -2. So that when you add those opposites, it goes to 0. So when we look at number 1, we notice that the coefficients in front of our x's are the same. They're both 1. So if you want to draw that sneaky little 1 in, you can do that, okay? But you cannot cancel this how it is right now. And the reason is because if I add straight down, 1x plus 1x is 2x, and they don't cancel. So how I am able to cancel is I need to multiply one of my equations by -1, okay? And it doesn't matter which one because they're the same. So say I choose to multiply the second equation. It doesn't matter. Whichever equation you choose to multiply by, you need to multiply the entire equation by that number. Okay, I'm not going to touch my top equation. It has everything I need. So I'm just going to rewrite 1x plus 2y equals 8. Then I'm going to go through and multiply everything in my second equation, including this 12. That's usually what's forgotten most often. So when I multiply everything by -1, it's just going to change all my signs. So I'm going to have a -1x. My positive 3y becomes a -3y, and -1 times 12 is -12. So everything's still lined up really nicely, but now I notice if I add straight down, or adding straight down is the same as combining. We're not adding any additional signs. So if I add straight down, 1 plus a -1x, that goes to 0. That's what allows me to cross it out. 2 plus a -3y is -1y. 8 plus a -12 is -4. Okay, so if you're having a little bit of trouble with your negatives, put it in the calculator and put a plus sign in between. 8 plus a -12 is -4. You're not subtracting, because if you were subtracting, it'd be 8 minus a -12, and you would have that double negative, which would turn it positive. Okay, so you're always adding straight down, because when we add opposites, that's what makes it cancel out. So when this happens, I now have a one-step equation where I just have to divide by the coefficient of my y, divide by -1, divide by -1, and y is equal to a +4. So I have half of my solution. I have that second coordinate in my point. I know that the y is 4. So now I can use either original equation, and I'm going to substitute 4 in for y in either equation, because y is equal to 4. That's how you know which variable to substitute in for, whichever one you solved for first. So I'm going to take my first equation, and everywhere there's a y, I'm going to put a 4. So I'm going to have x plus 2 in place of y. I know that y is 4. Equals 8. 2 times 4 is 8. So x plus 8 is equal to 8. Subtract the 8. and x is equal to, they cancel out here, and then I know it's 8 minus 8 here, that goes to 0 also. So it's not no solution, remember, 0 is a number, okay? It's a point that's gonna be on that y-axis. So my x coordinate is 0, so my final answer is the point 0, 4. Okay. So looking at my second example, none of my coefficients are the same. Okay, I have a -1 and a 3. I have a +1 and a -2. The nice thing about this one is I can get away with just multiplying one of my equations. So you have to make a choice. Do you want to cross out your x's or do you want to cross out your y's? This time, I'm going to cross out the y's just because I did the x's over here. So I want to kind of show both. If I want to eliminate my y's, I look at what I have. I have a -2 and a +1. If I want to eliminate, I want this to be a +2 because then +2 and -2 would cancel out. How I can get that +2 is by multiplying by 2. And when I multiply by 2, I have to remember to multiply the entire equation by 2. Okay, now if I wanted to get rid of the x's, cross them out, I could do that and multiply this entire equation by 3, and then I would have -3 and +3, and they would cancel out. So these problems you can do multiple ways. That's why sometimes it's helpful when you're doing a problem just to ask for help, because you might be doing it a little bit differently than I would. So I'll just ask to see your work and then go from there. Okay, so always use that Google Hangout Remind to get that individualized help that you need on your Delta Maths, because everyone's Delta Maths have different problems on them. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So I'm just going to actually keep my second equation here, and I'm going to write my new first equation after I multiply by 2 underneath. So -x times 2 is -2x. 2 times y is a +2y. 4 times 2 is 8. And this was originally a -7. I kind of wrote on top of it, so it's hard to see. Okay. I know I picked the right number because now I have opposites. If after you multiply you don't have opposites, you pick the wrong number. So you just have to go back and try to multiply one of your equations by a different number. But I have my opposites that I need, so I'm going to add straight down. 3x and a -2x, if I add them, is a +1x. They cancel. -7 plus 8 is a +1. So this is actually a really easy equation. I'm actually done if I wanted to be. But if I wanted to divide by that 1 in front, I would get x is equal to 1. So this time I found my first coordinate in my solution. So I'm going to go to write my point, 1 comma. Now I have to find that y variable. I can pick either equation. Okay, I'm going to pick my bottom equation just because there's not a negative with the x. I'm going to substitute in. And in place of x, I'm going to put what x equals, which is a +1. So 3x is equal to a +1 minus 2y equals -7. 3 times 1 is 3 minus 2y equals -7. This is a +3. The negative goes with the 2. So I'm going to subtract 3 because 3 minus 3 goes to 0. -2y is equal to -7, and -3 is -10. Divide both sides by -2. And y is equal to a +5. Okay, because you have a double negative here when you're dividing. I put it as the second part of my point, and the point 1, 5 is my solution. Right? You want to be very neat and organized. There's a lot of solving going on. That's why we've been practicing all of that solving. And the unfortunate thing is if you make a little mistake with your negative, it kind of messes everything up. So you just want to be conscious of that, nice and neat. When you do your warm-up quiz, if it's hard to do it on the Google form, that's totally fine. Do it on a piece of paper, take a picture, and upload it. All right, that's just as easy for me to grade, and then I can put comments in that private comment section when I grade your work. I will put up your grades for the week by the end of the day today, so that if you're missing anything in Genesis, you can go through and do it over the weekend so that you're good to go before Monday's assignments go up. There won't be any additional work that goes up over the weekend. It's just an opportunity that if your week was kind of crazy because of this new situation going on, you have that weekend to get caught up before Monday's assignments go out. Any questions, any concerns, please contact me at any time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye.